Welcome to the NZ Travel Show, an interactive show where you can ask your NZ travel questions to the experts behind nzpocketguide.com, New Zealand's largest travel guide. The NZ Travel Show will start in exactly 2 minutes. Just the time for you to hit the like button, ring the notification bell, and subscribe if you have not done so yet. NZPocketGuide.com has over 3,000 articles covering all aspects of travelling in New Zealand, from a working holiday gap year to tips for a perfect family holiday. The site also features dozens of pre-made itineraries that you can use to plan your ideal trip in New Zealand. It's all available for free at nzpocketguide.com, so check it out. The NZ Travel Show is hosted by Robin, the Operations Manager of South Pacific Pocket Guide, the company behind nzpocketguide.com. The New Zealand Travel Show is also hosted by Laura, a journalist and editor-in-chief of South Pacific Pocket Guide and all its publications, including nzpocketguide.com. We're exactly 1 minute away from the NZ Travel Show. Get yourself comfortable and start asking your NZ travel questions in the chat. Robin and Laura will go over them when the show starts. In 30 seconds, our experts will be live from New Zealand to give you all the practical New Zealand travel tips you need, from the best transport options to the best accommodations and activities to choose for the perfect New Zealand holiday. Live from New Zealand, this is the NZ Travel Show with your travel experts, Robin and Laura.
That's right! I'm not muted. Here you go. I'm back. Sorry about that. Anyway, how do you guys like this new intro? I think it's really cool. Yeah, we were just patting myself on the back for doing the nice intro. Sorry about that. Anyway, new look for the NZ Travel Show. We're pretty excited about it, but we want to get started with wishing you a happy new year. Here you go. This is better when the mic is on, so you guys can hear us. Fabio says best intro ever. I love it.
Oh yeah, good.
Sherry also says she likes the new intro. And everybody else, Ramez, Tomex, everybody that says that we were muted, thank you very much for that.
Yeah, thanks guys.
Anyway, happy new year. We both wish you the best for 2023. Hopefully you guys are making it to New Zealand in 2023. But welcome to the new NZ Travel Show.
Are you getting all choked up?
I know, I'm so stoked about all that. So yeah, plenty of things are going to happen during the travel show from now on. There's going to be some text at the bottom. There's going to be some text on our faces. It's going to be great.
Text everywhere.
Exactly, text everywhere. And one thing that I worked relatively hard on is making sure that we do have a theme every single week. And so what we're going to be doing from now on, we're going to try to frame the conversation around one theme. However, if you do have some questions which are different than this theme that we are covering, feel free to ask it in the live chat. We'll be super happy to go over them anyway. We're always there to help you plan your trip to New Zealand. So let's get started with me mocking things up right here. Sorry about that. You see, that's what I was trying to do. Anyway, we're going to get started with the theme of this week. So Laura, what's the theme this week?
So this week we're going to be looking at what the weather is like in January in New Zealand.
Yes, and we're also obviously going to be covering a lot of travel tips about New Zealand in January. Just making sure that you guys are ready for this month, for traveling this month. And if you're watching it, a little bit later, that's fine. If you're planning a trip in January 2024, well, the weather patterns usually don't change too much, so that's gonna be that. So we're gonna be talking about the weather in January. Ramesh says, "Have you guys survived? How have you guys survived a summer Christmas?"
Well, this is about our 8th Christmas in New Zealand in a row, and we've managed to survive it every year so far. And it is, I have to admit, it is a little bit weird because they're still using the same sort of decorations of like pine trees as in like your Christmas trees and like kind of snowy decorations, despite it actually being quite warm. Usually it's quite sunny during December, but this year it's been a bit of a damp and wet December during the Christmas time. So just seeing that sort of weird, like putting sort of snowy winter decorations everywhere when it's actually quite warm, and usually the sunset isn't until around like 9 p.m. So all the fairy lights and all the lights and decorations in the towns, you can't really appreciate them.
I mean,
until,
Laura's
like,
fast asleep at 6 p.m.
I know.
So,
I mean, oldies like me that you like to get that beauty sleep can't really appreciate all the decorations. But yeah, it's interesting. It's very different, and I recommend coming over to experience it for yourself.
And Sherry, that is in Australia, says she had 30 degrees Celsius and she loves summer Christmas. Lawrence also say Happy New Year.
Oh, Happy New Year, Lawrence.
There you go. All right. So Fabio is actually asking, January is the hottest month of the year, isn't it? So what we're going to be doing, we're going to go over the usual kind of temperature in New Zealand in January. Before that, we're going to move a little bit. Woo! All right, so let's go over the typical temperatures that you guys can expect in January. So let's get started with a general kind of rule when traveling in New Zealand around January. Usually the temperatures can go as high as 30 degrees Celsius, which is about 86 degrees Fahrenheit, and it can reach as low as 12 degrees Celsius, which is about 54 degrees Fahrenheit. But if we want to dive a little deeper and go over the different regions of New Zealand, we're going to see what is usually the average daylight temperature. So during the day, not during the night, but during the day, what usually you can expect in New Zealand. And that's usually using an average of the last 10 years. So if we look at northern New Zealand, which is Northland, Auckland and Tauranga, usually you can expect about 20 degrees Celsius during the day, which is about 68 degrees Fahrenheit. If we look more at central North Island, you can, that's the town of Hamilton, Taupo and Rotorua. Then you can expect about 18 degrees Celsius, which is about 64 degrees Fahrenheit. In the southwest North Island, which is New Plymouth, Palmerston North and Wellington, you can expect 18 degrees Celsius, which is around 64 degrees Fahrenheit. JT says he loves the map for reference, by the way, Laura. So yeah, Laura is here, but for me, I can see her here, which is pretty weird. All right. Christina is here saying kia ora. She's listening to everything, and she's purging a lot, which feels great in her kitchen. I like it. Anyway, let's keep going. Eastern North Island, we have Gisborne, Napier, and Wairarapa. That's the Eastern North Island. So usually you can expect around 20 degrees Celsius, which is about 68 degrees Fahrenheit. All right, let's move down to the South Island, shall we? With the northern South Island, Blenheim and Nelson, that's 18 degrees Celsius on average during the daylight in New Zealand in January, 64 degrees Fahrenheit. In the western South Island, which is Westport, Hokitika and Milford Sound, you can expect about 16 degrees Celsius, which is 59 degrees Fahrenheit. In the eastern South Island, which is Kaikoura, Christchurch and Timaru, you can expect about 16 degrees Celsius, which is about 61 degrees Fahrenheit. And inland South Island, this is where it's going to get the coldest, like the next two regions are the coldest. So that's Lake Tekapo, Queenstown and Alexandra. You can expect around 14 to 18 degrees Celsius, which is 57 to 64 Fahrenheit. And finally, southern New Zealand, so that's Dunedin, Invercargill, and even the beautiful Stewart Island, which Oh, right now something is covering it.
Oh, no.
Very, very sad.
Bad timing.
Anyway, so at the region right now that Laura is pointing to, that's usually 14 degrees Fahrenheit, which goes down to, 14 degrees Celsius, which is about 57 degrees Fahrenheit. All right, so that is basically what you guys can expect for the temperatures in New Zealand in January. We will be talking about precipitation, which is rainfall and all of that a little bit later, but in the meantime, we'll go over some of your comments. All right. So Fabio says, I have to say it's quite funny to hear about this high temperature after watching some reviews for my new crampons. Yes, it is planning to travel in New Zealand during the winter months. Yeah, for sure. Sherry says, if this is in January, I'm going to be so cold in October. Yeah, so definitely it is going to be relatively cold in October.
Yeah, it'll be a bit different in October.
So Ramez is asking about Otago. So Otago is around the
inland
South Island. So what we're talking about, like, Lake Tekapo, Queenstown, Alexandria, it's similar temperature. So it'll be 14 to 18 degrees Celsius, which is 57 to 64 degrees Fahrenheit. Keep in mind that the weather in New Zealand, in any time of the year, changes dramatically. Within a few hours. We always say there is
4 seasons in one day.
There you go. That's a saying that we say all the time in New Zealand, isn't it?
Nearly got caught out there.
But yeah, so we say that really, really often. So
yeah. But yeah, make sure that you check out our packing lists that we have on NZ Pocket Guide as well. We have packing lists not only for year round, which is a really good option. Basically, yeah, it's always good to have more like a year round packing list, but we also have packing lists on NZ Pocket Guide for winter, spring, summer and autumn. So yeah, find out which season you are traveling in, and we do have seasonal packing lists as well if you want us to be a bit more specific.
Yes.
But whatever season you are traveling in, it is a good idea to pack an extra layer. Even if you are coming in the middle of summer, make sure that you do have those extra layers to keep warm, because once the sun goes in, either behind the clouds or after dark, those temperatures can feel really different, like really much colder. So yeah, it feels like the temperature, like I said actually, 4 seasons in one day, but that also applies to temperatures as well. It can really feel like it's all over the place, so it's good to, be prepared for any situation.
All right, I forgot Jonathan Vincent all the way on top.
Oh, Jonathan Vincent says, good morning and Happy New Year. Happy New Year, Jonathan, and thanks for joining us for another live session.
Yeah. All right. So other things relating to weather when it comes down to January, right, is obviously rainfall. New Zealand gets a lot of rain. But the good thing about January is that the weather is a little bit more predictable. It's usually a little bit more consistent to compare to other months of the year, because we are literally right in the middle of summer, which usually is supposed to be the best, the best weather, sunny, with a few showers here and there, and not just,
Constant
shower
rain.
with a few sunny moments here and there. It has been a weird summer this year, but yeah. The days are also a little bit longer, so that's what also make the weather a little bit more predictable. You get usually much more sun hours, so usually you're gonna get like a sunrise around 6 a.m. and a sunset around 9 p.m. as Laura was saying, when talking about Christmas. So yeah, in New Zealand we're gonna have rain all year round, but let's talk a little bit about what you can expect in every region. So Laura is getting back. Boom, the light is back on. Da da da. All right, so we're going to go over the similar kind of regions that we went before, and again, I'm going to give you the average rainfall in each areas of New Zealand in January, and I'm going to give them to you in millimeters for those that are using the metric system, and in inches for those that are using that other ungodly system. All right, so let's get started with northern New Zealand. So that's Northland, Auckland and Tauranga, where you can expect about 90 millimeters of rain, which is 3.5 inches. In central North Island, which is Hamilton, Taupo and Rotorua, you can expect around 80 millimeters of rain, which is about 3 inches. In the southwest North Island, New Plymouth, Palmerston North and Wellington, in January you can expect around 70 millimeters of rain, which is 2.7 inches. Again, it's an average of the last 10 years. It does not reflect what we're getting this year. Just putting it there.
That's why you should always be prepared for any situation.
She says while wagging her finger. All right, Eastern North Island. We're looking at Gisborne, Napier and Wairarapa, and this is usually around 50 millimeters of rain, which is about 2 inches. This is the least amount of rain that you're going to get on the North Island of New Zealand. All right, let's move on down to the South Island of New Zealand with Blenheim and Nelson, the northern South Island. You can expect around 70 millimeters of rain, which is about 2.7 inches. In the western South Island, which is Westport, Hokitika, Milford Sound, you can expect a lot of rain and a very, very wide range of rain that you can get. So between 180 to 700 millimeters of rain, that's between 7 inches to 27.5 inches. So yeah, a big bracket right here to keep you busy running away from the rain, isn't it? All right, Eastern South Island, Kaikoura, Christchurch and Timaru, 40 millimeters of rain, 1.6 inches. Now, the place in New Zealand where you're going to get the least amount of rain in January is Inland South Island, Lake Tekapo, Queenstown and Alexandra, where we only on average getting about 30 millimeters of rain, which is about 1 inches. And finally, we're going to be looking again at the southern New Zealand, Dunedin, Invercargill and beautiful Stewart Island with 70 millimeters of rain on average in January, which is 2.7 inches. Here we go. So, should you pack an umbrella or a rain jacket when traveling in New Zealand in January, Laura?
You should definitely pack a rain jacket.
No umbrella? Why no
I
umbrella?
wouldn't say umbrella because usually we're being a sort of having a maritime climate in New Zealand. That often means there's usually quite a lot of breeze, quite a lot of wind. Most of if you're visiting towns, they're mostly situated around coastal areas. So you're going to be spending a lot of time in the coastal areas. That's always how it is in New Zealand. So umbrellas and a lot of wind often don't mix, and you'll probably end up, coming home with a broken umbrella. So that's why we tend to go more for rain jackets. And it is very rare that you see people with umbrellas in New Zealand, more right like in the heart of the city if people are like commuting and they live there and stuff. But typically, rain jackets are the way to go.
What is Christina saying, Laura?
Christina says, we never used an umbrella and just put the hood up on our rain jackets. Worked well. Yeah, that's what most people go for. It's just easier and, kind of keeps you a bit drier than umbrellas, to be fair. I mean, umbrellas often keep your head dry, but then you're still getting rained on from the side. So, rain jackets are definitely better for the climate here.
Yeah, make sure that you do have any time in New Zealand, even if January is summer, like we already say multiple times, January is summer in New Zealand, you still want to have decent layers.
Yes.
But yeah, speaking of traveling in New Zealand in January, let's just see what Fabio is saying first.
Fabio says, does New Zealand still use the imperial system or have they already advanced to the metric system? I can't remember. So New Zealand is on the metric system. So we measure, for instance, distance in kilometers, meters, etc. Weights are usually in kgs and grams. So that's the one to follow when you're in New Zealand. And if that's not the same system you use, then it will be handy to have a little converter app on your phone, I guess, when you come over here.
Yeah. Okay. Then we also have Dev that says, can you tell us the weather in July month? Yes, definitely. So what I'm going to do for you, mate, is I'm going to give you a link where you have all the information that we're just talking about right here. And so in there, you'll be able to find that. So let me just show you quickly how to find that. And I'll also give you the link. So I'm going to do that. And this, boom. So you can go on nzpocketguide.com and then on travel tips. And then we have essentials right here. And you have New Zealand weather. So obviously July, just so you know, Dev, it is very, very cold and wet. Fabio just said July is cold and wet. It is winter in New Zealand, right? So we're gonna basically it's the complete opposite that what we're just talking about right here, which is literally the middle of summer. And so travel tips, then essential, then New Zealand climate, and then we have the New Zealand weather in July. And so what I'm going to be doing for you is that I'm going to scroll down so you can see all those temperature right here. So you can freeze screen right here. And there right here, the temperature that you have as well as
precipitation.
The precipitation, the rain. I will give you a link in the live chat for you, but we will do a July session for sure. We'll just do it closer to July, when it makes a little more sense to do that. But here you go, Dev. Here is the link for you in the chat.
Yeah, and let us know if you have any more questions.
Yes, of course. All right. So let's go over some. Sorry, Sherry is asking something.
Cherie says, if an activity is weather dependent, do companies give out refunds often if your itinerary isn't very flexible?
Most of the time, you will be getting a voucher to come and do it again at another time. That's what happened most of the time. So it's really important to look at the refund policy that you have, and that's why sometimes we actually recommend people to book their activities through like a third-party retailer, like Klook or Viator, for example. Just because those one add an extra layer of like, oh, if you can't do the activity, you can get a refund and everything. So just make sure that you do look at the term and conditions. There is no like kind of policy. Standard over the industry. There's no industry standards in New Zealand. So usually, most of the time, you get a voucher. So yeah, that's the problem. Some people only have one chance to come to New Zealand, and so they wouldn't really make a use of another, a
heli hike to Franz Josef there when they've already like far past it.
Yeah.
So
That's
so
a very good question.
It's different from company to company. So yeah, just make sure you read the terms and conditions when you're booking.
All right, so while you guys are coming up with some more really good questions, I really do like the questions today. We're just going to go over a very quick thing. And it's here. Yay, I like it. Okay, so on Patreon, you can choose to support us, and that would be awesome. We'd love to have you on board. And there is plenty of exclusive perks that you're going to get. And today, I'm going to highlight one of the exclusive that you have, and then another week, I'm going to talk about something else. But every single week, we give you an extra hour to come and ask us some questions. We also do some different stuff. Sometimes we play games, and sometimes we look at photos. So today, Christina, which is in the chat right now, shared with us about 80 photos from her latest trip to New Zealand with her husband. And today, we're going to be looking at her photos and also sometimes trying to guess where the photo has been taken, and even just getting some feedback from her, what she liked and everything. So yeah, it's one of the many perks you can get when joining us on Patreon. So check out the link in the description of this video. There is a link to Patreon, and we'd love to have you on board. Dev is asking,
is there any winter activities in New Zealand between June to August? So, yeah, there is some very there's especially like activities you can only really do in winter, which is snow sports. So if you want to learn how to
that's fine. I was told you were about to list. I was like,
okay. So if you want to learn how to snowboard or ski, there are ski fields across New Zealand, both in the North Island and the South Island. So there's opportunity to do that. But the great thing about New Zealand in winter is that actually many of the activities are still open that are also open in summer. So you can do many of the hiking trails. You can do it's easier more to list the stuff that you can't do because that list is super short.
You pretty much can do everything.
Yeah, you can do bungee jumping, jet boating. You can do all that stuff that's usually on the bucket list of people.
So just
Maori
to make it,
experiences, wildlife viewing. Yeah,
so just to make it super clear, Dev, it just feels like we may have a misunderstanding right here. You keep on asking, is there winter activities in New Zealand between June and August? June, July, August is winter in New Zealand, right? So there is pretty much only winter activities, right? You can do all the activities in New Zealand, but they're all going to be in a winter setting.
Yeah.
As it is winter in New Zealand with different hemisphere to where you probably are from, right? So right now is January for us. It is the hottest. It is supposed to be. We're having terrible weather right now, but it is supposed to be our hottest months, right? So we are talking about right now. We're talking to you from summer. I know for you probably it is winter where you are, but when you come in New Zealand in winter, yes, you're gonna be able to do most of the activities in New Zealand, literally like the horse trek, the whitewater rafting, all that is actually. And we
not all whitewater rafting.
Not all, but yeah. And we tend to actually prefer traveling in New Zealand in June, July, and August because there's less people around. And usually, for example, for the whitewater rafting operations, which are still operating, they're usually a bit more gushing rafting and everything.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like a little bit more epic. So we enjoy it more. But just making it super clear that June, July, and August is winter in New Zealand. Right now we are in January, which is the middle of summer. December, January, February is summer in New Zealand.
Yeah.
All right. Sherry and Christina are both very much looking forward to all the photos.
Fabio was saying that though I think he sent us a link to some climate diagrams, but we haven't had the link through on the live chat. Just so you know.
Fabio, just so you know, the link don't work. Like viewers cannot send links on there, and I cannot allow it.
Through YouTube.
It's not like I forbid it. It's just I can't allow it.
Yeah. Fabio is suggesting skiing, snowboarding, ice climbing, Fjordland be experienced in climbing. I mean, if you are an adventurous person, there's definitely, and you are trained in certain mountaineering and stuff, there's certainly other things that you can do, yes.
Fabio says, personal question, do you guys use mini spikes or crampons if you want to hike during winter? So not really. We usually kind of select hikes which are, at lower altitudes. We just don't like to make it like too strenuous for ourselves. The few times when we need to use spikes or crampons, usually during guided tours, and so we use whatever the guide is providing us because they usually know best. We kind of tailor, like if you want to go really high altitude kind of hikes and everything like that, we usually do them in summer. We just find it a little bit easier. I don't think we are comfortable enough or confident enough as a hiker and in our alpine skills in order to actually tackle like winter hikes like that without guides.
Yes.
So that's pretty much the way we approach
the way we operate.
Indeed. All right, so let's continue with our theme of the week, and let's talk a little bit about some travel tips for visiting New Zealand in January. So if you are planning to travel to New Zealand in January, here's a few things that you may want to be aware of, may want to keep in mind for your trip to New Zealand. And let's start with Laura.
So very important is that you should definitely remember to wear sunscreen, and not just any old sunscreen, but high factor sunscreen. So like we've said, January is in the middle of summer in New Zealand, and the sun and the UV levels are really high and intense during this time. So even if you're just going out for about 15 minutes, that's how quick you can get burnt in New Zealand. Even quicker in some occasions. Some people say it's down to 7 minutes and then you can start getting burnt if the sun is really intense. So make sure that you do bring plenty of sunscreen to New Zealand, although there is sunscreen available in New Zealand if you need to get some more. And make sure that you apply that regularly, and also obviously make sure you have some clothing options to cover up as well. Keep hydrated in that hot summer sun.
All right, so the other thing to keep in mind when traveling in New Zealand in January is that it is literally the busiest time of the year. So not only it is the best time of the year for, the most popular time of the year, for international travelers to come to New Zealand and travel the country because, well, as we just mentioned, it is summer. So it's going to be really busy with a lot of international travelers. But January also is the time of the year where there is the most public holidays, school holidays. This is when there is the Christmas holidays. This is when it's New Year's, and so all the locals, all the Kiwis are also traveling in New Zealand, should be visiting some of the famous local spots or even visiting friends and family. So do be aware that a lot of activities and accommodation tend to be booked very, very, very far in advance. So if you're planning to travel to New Zealand in January, it may be a good idea to book ahead.
Next up would be to make sure that you have insect repellent available, whether that's in the form of, some insect spray or balm, or having clothes that cover up exposed skin to stop yourself getting bitten by sandflies. So sandflies are really prevalent in New Zealand, especially in summer. And they can be anywhere in New Zealand. They're not just at the beaches in the sand like the name suggests. They can be on like open lawns. Anywhere in New Zealand, they are they're just everywhere in summer, and they leave a really, really itchy bite. And not only are there sandflies, there's also mosquitoes in New Zealand during summer as well. So having some good insect repellent is an absolute must.
All right, and so finally, we do mention the weather quite a lot. Literally, that's pretty much what we've been talking about for the last 30 minutes. So do know that the New Zealand weather changes really, really often, and therefore carrying an extra layer, having a rain jacket, despite the fact that you're traveling in New Zealand in January, is extremely important. Do not come to New Zealand with your jandals, i.e. flip-flop, and just a pair of shorts and think you're going to be fine. New Zealand is beautiful, green and lush because we do have a lot of rain to feed and quench the thirst of those beautiful New Zealand forests. So do be aware that the weather changes a lot in New Zealand, and therefore you want to actually be prepared and pack accordingly. All right, so that is basically our tips for traveling in January. Some extra little thing that you may want to know before you're traveling in the country at that time of the year. Ramesh is asking, are sand mosquito really as scary as what it is told in summer?
And then he says, lol, already answered.
That's true. I was barely listening, but yes.
Yeah, so yeah, they are, well, I wouldn't say they're really scary. They're only scary if you are not prepared for them, i.e. if you just let them bite all over your skin and then that itch. Although it doesn't, sandflies don't pass on diseases or anything, they do leave a really annoying itch that is just like, can drive you a little bit mad. So
unless you're using the amazing technique that Laura is using, which is traveling with Robin, which they all attack me and don't attack Laura.
No, that's mosquitoes. Sandflies still get me.
That's mosquito.
Yeah. So yeah, it is definitely sandfly central in summer. So yeah, be prepared.
And Fabio was giving a bit of context, saying the time it takes that you can get sunburn depends on your skin type. Yeah, I do understand that, but it is incredibly fast in New Zealand. A lot of people are actually surprised.
Yeah, I was just going to say, we've had so many people that have said to us, like, yeah, usually, like, I come from Europe, and usually I don't even wear sunscreen in Europe. I don't get burnt, but then they get horrifically burnt in New Zealand. It's just like the UV levels here are completely different to other parts of the world. Even if the temperature isn't that warm in comparison to other places, it's just the UV levels here are different, and that's what's making it, that's how you get sunburns. So yeah, even if you don't usually get burnt, or you have a skin type that, usually you feel like you don't need to wear sunscreen, you might want to reconsider that for New Zealand. Or usually people find that out the hard way on the first day. They get completely like, oh, so that's what sunburn is, and then they sort it out afterwards.
Todd is saying, do I hear NZ Pocket Guide merch IDs? NZ Pocket Guide sandfly swatters.
That would be funny.
That is hilarious, Todd. That is really funny.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
That would be so funny. I wonder if they do
oh my god,
customized sandfly swatters anywhere.
That would actually crack me up. Oh, Todd, that is a really good idea.
That's so funny.
Oh my god. The problem now is that we do have to give a commission to Todd all the time. Every time,
no.
It's like it's his idea, right? Oh, that is really funny. Shingen is saying, please, New Zealand, have a 2 years visa that comes out in 2 months. Oof, you need to deal with Immigration New Zealand right here. Good luck, mate. Good luck. All right.
There's still Fabio talking about sandflies, saying they are annoying but quite okay after you get used to them. I've been here for years and I'm still not used to them. And he also says sandflies can get quite annoying when you are next to some slow rivers. Yeah, any sort of water, stagnant water.
Usually, I mean, the best tips to deal with sandflies, right, is literally you keep moving.
Keep on moving.
If you actually keep on moving, if you sit by a pond, I mean, honestly, you can be eaten alive, obviously, right? But if you actually keep walking and keep moving, usually you're kind of fine.
Yeah. So luckily, there's plenty of hikes in New Zealand that you just want to keep on walking slowly, and there's a lot of opportunity for moving in New Zealand.
Yes, for sure.
Christina says, sorry, go on.
Usually when I don't like mosquito, as the buzz in your ears and they swarm around you more than sandflies. The sandfly bite do last longer, but we didn't find them itchy for too long.
Oh, well,
interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. I hate the sandfly bites, I'll be honest with you.
Especially on your feet. Like, if they bite you on your feet, you're just like, oh, it's so, like, it just, like, the itch drives me crazy. But yeah, I guess people have different tolerance for those sandfly bites.
Sherry says, gotta love living under the hole in the ozone layer. Well, actually, I did some research recently. I used to say that all the time. I did some research recently. It's actually a misconception. The hole is not right on top of New Zealand, which I did not know that. So, yeah. Fabio says, winter is a good time for meeting less sandflies. I may have heard. Yes, definitely. So this is, and we're talking about sandfly right now. We will not be talking about sandfly during July, right? There's very little chances to be bitten by sandfly, which Dev is going to be very happy to hear since he's traveling in July.
You don't really have to worry about that in winter.
So, yeah. Anthony says, Morena from Rodeo. Sorry I'm late. You're really welcome.
Morena, Anthony.
No, sorry, you do not have to apologize. Not you're really welcome. What the hell?
You're welcome here.
You're welcome here.
Whatever time you want, Anthony.
Yes.
But you missed our intro, Anthony. Maybe you want to rewind and check out our new intro that we have. We've spiced up the live session for you, or the the live show for you guys.
And so Christina is concurring with our statement, saying that they spend a lot of time hiking and moving, and so therefore they didn't get bitten as much, which is very true.
You're more likely to get bitten, for instance, if you're like, it's usually when you're at your accommodation, or if you like, you're enjoying the park area or the campgrounds or something of your campsite. And that's when we tend to get bitten the most. It's just more if we're like sat somewhere outside, maybe even having lunch or dinner, and then that's when you're more likely to start getting bitten.
Indeed. Matua is here. How are you doing, Matua?
Hi.
Morena. Hey, welcome on board. M. Benji says, hello, how do I get your contact? You can ask us all your questions right here in the live chat. It's next to Laura, just behind her ears. Yeah, no, I don't know. Oh, we can't point. We don't know where to point now. It's so weird. Go. Yeah, I know. So it's just right there. So you can ask your questions just right here, and we're here to answer all your questions. And if there is things that we need to help with you in private, we'll give you our contact details. But usually we do everything just right here, so everybody can learn and everybody can, plan their trip all together. We're here to create like a database of traveling in New Zealand. So here you go. Speaking of that, what we're going to be doing right now, we're going to be talking about the best places to visit in New Zealand in January, sticking with our theme. So we're going to send Laura back to the map.
Okay.
All right. So January is a great time of the year to travel in New Zealand. There is really not a good time to travel in New Zealand, but January is a really, really good time to travel in New Zealand. So what we decided to do, we decided to select a few areas which we think are definitely worth traveling in New Zealand in January. They're just better in January, and I'll go over why. So the first one is the area of Gisborne, because, well, first up, it starts with one of the biggest festival in New Zealand called Rhythm and Vine, and it's a great place to stick around because there is great surfing, there is amazing waterfalls over there, there is the world's longest natural water slide, which is really fun. And there is also amazing wine tasting, and sitting on a vineyard in the sun, watching the sunrise is just absolutely phenomenal. Plus, Gisborne is one of the earliest place in the world to see the sunrise. So if you're in New Zealand around New Year's, maybe you want to see the first sunrise of the year.
And it's less busy than the top tourist spots in New Zealand.
What she said. Can you guys hear her when she speaks all the way from the map? By the way, can I know about that? All that, we only have one mic here. Please tell us. All right, another great place to visit in New Zealand is in January is Northland. So the northern part of the North Island of New Zealand is a fantastic place to explore in January because, well, again, it's all about the beach. It has the warmest temperature, as we talked about before, and anything to do with like camping, water activities, swimming, and all that. It's kind of like absolutely amazing to do over there in Northland, so that's why we selected Northland. Another region that we selected on the North Island of New Zealand is the region of Taranaki. Taranaki. Oh yeah, sorry. I was delayed over there. Whoops. Anyway, it's the region of Taranaki. The region of Taranaki is great to visit in January because that's going to be the hottest season over there in Taranaki, and it's a great place for surfing. It features something called the Surf Highway 45, which is basically a road that you can drive along, and as you drive along it, there's a lot of amazing surf spot there, so yeah, check that out. Okay, we're going back up a bit more north, and we're going to go to Waiheke Island. So if you're stuck in Auckland during January in New Zealand, you may want to head to Waiheke Island. Great beaches and also fantastic vineyards, and yeah, just talked about the vineyard for Gisborne. The same applies there. Beautiful summer day at the vineyard. Why not? Lawrence, one of our Patreon, can actually attest to that. She was literally in the Waiheke vineyards only mere weeks ago. How amazing is that? And finally, we're going to go to the South Island. We have to pick one place to visit in the South Island, obviously in January. And again, all the places in New Zealand are worth visiting in New Zealand in January. But the Nelson Lakes National Park is amazing to visit in January because it has beautiful mountains, alpine lakes, superb forests. And lakes usually in the mountains are really, really, really cold, so you may as well go and visit it and dip in there when it's the hottest time of the year, because like that, when you get out of the lake, no matter what, the lake is going to be way too cold for human swimming. I can attest to that. I've been to those lakes, and damn, it's really cold. But absolutely fantastic to get there at around that time of the year. And also, it's a very much uncrowded place of New Zealand compared to most of the south island of New Zealand in summer, which, as we mentioned, is definitely one of the peak season in New Zealand. All right. Oop, no. Sorry. Here we go. We're back. Apologies for that. All right. Laura is here. Woo! Okay, so everybody can hear you when you speak from over there, so that's
Sweet. Great.
That's amazing. Fabio, I would like to add something to this list.
Yes. Fabio would recommend Tauranga. It's quite cool during the summer. Yeah, so it's a beachside city. Therefore, there's a lot of things going on, like on the coast if you're staying in Mount Maunganui, which is its coastal suburb with a nice long stretching beach. So yeah, just like it is a really good city for enjoying out in summer. And then they often have different events happening. So going to various markets. There was also, they do a little bit of a food truck festival thing with live music on the Strand, which is like right in the city centre of Tauranga. But it's city centre, but it's still right on the harbour's edge, and you see lots of people like jumping in the water.
The entire city centre of Tauranga is pretty much.
It's
on the
pretty much
harbour edge.
Everywhere's on the water's edge. So yeah, there's lots of opportunity to jump in the water, enjoy some good vibes, good food, good events, all that sort of stuff. So yeah.
All right, and then Lawrence is vouching for Wahiki.
Oh,
what is she saying?
She says the wine, the beaches, the zip lining, and just enjoying the scenery. Absolutely. Couldn't agree with you more.
Yes, for sure. It is a fantastic place to visit in summer. And to be fair, in the weekends in summer on Wahiki Island, it actually gets really busy, and it's kind of really weird because Wahiki Island is not usually really busy. Ramez is confused. He says it's quite confusing. So when is the school's long summer holiday in New Zealand?
So that's between December and January, I believe. Yeah. We could probably do a quick search of that. But yeah, it's basically they do the long summer holidays when it is summer. So it's also combined with the Christmas holiday, like Christmas holidays and sort of beginning of January as well. Yeah, so that is why also traveling in New Zealand usually we say like is the busiest time not only for international travelers to come to New Zealand but locals traveling around New Zealand. You'll see a lot of local families doing road trips around and things like that. So that's why we usually say if you want to avoid the highest prices and places where they're not likely to be fully booked, and it's better to actually book your trip outside of the December and January season because it can be, really, really busy, not only because of international travelers, but because of domestic travelers as well.
All right, so the holidays, so wait a minute, this is a very confusing way to write it. Obviously, I went to the government website, that's always so confusing. I want to go on our website. It's going to be easier. We have the public holiday articles, don't we?
We don't have the school holidays on there, though.
Oh, yeah.
That's just public holidays.
Just give me a second. Give me a second. Anyone's asking anything else?
Just have a look at what we've got. Fabio says, and you can see two of the, I think, only 3 toll roads in New Zealand in Tauranga. Yeah, so...
that's definitely not a tourist attraction, mate.
Yeah. So, yeah, New Zealand does have toll roads, but they are only in... there's just 2 around Tauranga and 1 just north of Auckland when you're heading up towards the Bay of Islands. But if you go on nzpocketguide.com and search toll roads, we do have articles on where they are, how to take alternative routes if you don't want to pay the toll. And, yeah, so just so you know a little bit about those, but... Bear in mind that that's only small sections of the North Island. The rest of New Zealand doesn't have toll roads. So you don't have to... If your car rental company is sort of trying to sell you anything to do with, we'll pay all your toll road fees for if you pay $50 or, sometimes some car rentals do offer sort of toll road assistance, which is really, we're talking... just a few dollars here, and they try to make a bit more money out of it. Just avoid those sort of deals, just as an extra tip there.
All right, so what I can find is actually the school terms. So I'm going to give you some information about the school holidays in New Zealand, especially around the summer months. So basically the school in New Zealand will restart on the 30th of January, right? At the earliest, and on the 7th of February at the latest. So like a lot of different schools are different. So the kids are literally roaming around
for the entirety of the January.
Month of January. Exactly.
Yeah.
So and it starts on the the 20th of December.
December.
So between the 20th of December to the 30th of January, that's the smallest period. That would be school holiday. It can go all the way to the 7th of February. So there is an extra week right here. But that would be the answer to your question. Yeah, that was very annoying information to find. I'm happy I'm not a parent. This was not fun.
Cherie was asking, are the tolls expensive? Speaking of that, I have updated the toll articles recently, actually. So if Robin,
No, they're only a few dollars.
Only a few
really
dollars,
cheap,
yeah. So Fabio says $2.40 and New Zealand dollars, I think. So we can just double check that on check that on the website. But yeah, I've updated them really recently, and
come on.
every so often they do go up by a couple of cents here, not a couple of cents, but a couple of tens of cents every year or so. But yeah, they're very affordable if you do happen to go through it. It's not the end of the world. There are extra fees, for instance, though, if you don't pay online. If you pay at a service station, it actually costs you more than if you are to pay through the New Zealand Transport Agency website. So just bear those things in mind. But we do have all of that information available for you on nzpocketguide.com on the page that Robin has brought up now. But yeah.
So the Northern Gateway toll is $2.40. I'm assuming that all the vehicles you're going to be driving are going to be under 3.5 tons. The Tauranga Eastern Link Tour Road is going to be $2.10, and the Tikitimu Tour Road is going to be $1.90. And so yeah, the two last ones are in Tauranga, and the first one is in Auckland. All right, let's go back to here.
And comparing that, Cherie says, that's so cheap. Some of our tolls are only $8.
Wow,
I mean, not only $8. And then Lawrence says, that's cheap. So I had to drive to NJNY a few weeks
New
ago.
Jersey, New York.
Yeah. Between road tolls and bridge tolls, it was over $30 one way.
Wow. But to be fair, I mean, they really save you like less than 5 minutes, those places. You know what I mean? Like, it's really not, don't worry about it. It's not like you don't really even have to take the toll road. You really don't save that much time.
And like I say, on those articles, we do show you alternative roads that you can take if you want to just avoid the toll roads.
If you really want to save that $1.90, we can help with that. All right, so Sky Russian Dan, I think, says, what's the minimum wage for foreigners in New Zealand? So the first thing that I want to point out is that there is no difference between the minimum wage for New Zealand workers than a foreigner, right? Everybody would be paid the exact same amount of money for the same job. So I want you to know that right now. And the current minimum wage in New Zealand, I think, is around $22 an hour. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's around that.
I'm just gonna check
Robin
that
will
as well.
double check that information, because again, that's another thing that it does go. It tends to go up every year, or at least it has for the last 4 years or something.
So it's $21.20 an hour. $21.20 an hour, but with inflation, it's not that amazing.
Yeah. So although the minimum wage is quite high in New Zealand, like Robin says, $21.20 is the current minimum wage. Although it's quite high, you need to bear in mind that first of all, do you get tax? Does that reduce your tax? You like tax is deducted from that?
Yeah.
Or is that after tax?
No, that's before tax.
So that's before tax. So bear that in mind, that you do have to pay an income tax when you are working in New Zealand. And second of all, the cost of life, the cost of living in New Zealand is fairly high. So, cost of food, as everybody knows around the world at the moment, cost of fuel, that sort of thing means that, cost of everyday items, rent, that sort of thing, even your electricity bills are all a little bit higher in New Zealand than other places around the world. So maybe if you're coming from a place where cost of living is quite low, then you may find that it's actually it may surprise you in New Zealand that it is a fair bit higher than elsewhere around the world, but that's why the minimum wage here is also quite high, to sort of even and balance that out a little bit.
Yeah. All right, so we're going to keep going with our theme of this week, and we are going to be talking about traveling in New Zealand in January, and we want to help you pack. So this time we're going to be looking at things that you need to pack for traveling in New Zealand in January. And in order to do that, we're going to pass you to the beautiful Laura.
All right, so as we've already mentioned in our tips, make sure that you definitely pack some high-factor sunscreen and some insect repellent. Although you can get those in New Zealand, it's just always easier to have it prepared for yourself. Pack it, doesn't take up too much space in your luggage, so come prepared, I personally recommend. Speaking of sun protection, make sure that you pack a cap or a sun hat, because that sun can be really intense on your head, especially if you're going on any boat tours or hiking in the middle of the day. Sunglasses, more sun protection. Swimwear, because there's lots of beautiful swimming places around New Zealand, not only if you are swimming at the beach in the beautiful summer weather, but also there's a lot of hot pools. So if the weather's not that great, then there's more opportunity to get in the water, to go into the hot pools. You'll also need swimwear for if you're doing any water adventure activities like whitewater rafting or canyoning. Rain jacket, we recommend packing a rain jacket for any time of the year in New Zealand, including in summer, because it can rain at any time. Make sure you're prepared for that. Hiking shoes, New Zealand's biggest attractions really are along walking trails, which range from as little as 5-minute walks to multi-day, like 8-day walks. So just having a pair of hiking shoes, whether you prefer hiking shoes or boots, a good pair of those that are waterproof as well is highly recommended for your trip to New Zealand. And then, because of the sunny weather and hotter temperatures during January, it's good to have a pair of shorts and t-shirt for those times where it can get pretty hot, but also make sure that you have at least one warm layer with you as well, that you carry in your day pack as you're traveling around New Zealand, so that when the temperatures turn, you do have opportunities to have warm layers on.
All right. Thank you, Laura, for that. That's very nice.
Yeah,
Fabio is actually expanding a little bit on the minimum wage and says that expats said that New Zealand is on the top 10 worst country to work. And there have only been 2 reasons for that. 1, the high cost of living, and 2, Kiwis are very nice, but becoming a true friend is very hard.
Yeah.
I
don't think I could strongly disagree with that statement. Yeah, thanks, Fabio.
Fabio's making the truth bomb right here.
Yeah,
Dropping
yeah.
truth bomb. I love it. I actually do. Good, Fabio. Good.
Yeah.
All right. Sky Roshan Dan is asking best tourist attraction in Wellington.
Well, my favourite tourist attraction in
No!
Wellington
No!
is Zealandia.
Ah!
So this is an amazing wildlife sanctuary that is really close actually to the city centre. But what's really cool about it is that it's just a wildlife sanctuary with a predator-proof fence, and the main wildlife that you'll find in New Zealand are birds. So the birds are, they're free to come and go, fly in and out if they want, but it's basically a safe haven for native birds that are otherwise quite threatened in other environments around New Zealand, and you'll get to see lots of really crazy bird species, like so many different colours, so many different sounds. It's just, you don't really know until you go, but you'll probably be a complete bird nerd after you've gone to Zealandia, so it's pretty awesome.
All right, so we're going to give Laura a little bit of time to drink, and I'm going to give you some extra activities. So I was saying no, because Laura picked the one I really enjoy. All right, so some of the great activities to do in Wellington. The Te Papa Museum, first up, is a free museum. It's New Zealand's national museum. There is so much in there, so many exhibitions, and since the weather in Wellington is ever changeable, it's a great place to go and hang out. Seriously, if you get in there in the morning, you probably won't get out until the evening. It's a really cool place to visit. Other great place to visit, if you are in Wellington city centre, just walk around and go from coffee shop to coffee shop. There really is a really fantastic coffee scene there. The Wellington Botanic Garden is absolutely fantastic as well. If you are a little bit of a movie buff, you may want to head to the Weta Studio, where you can do a tour. You will be able to see a lot of behind the scenes of the making of, obviously, the Lord of the Rings, but other movies such as Avatar and District 9, etc. It's really a fascinating kind of little tour, which is really cool. And if you want something free to do, and you are a Lord of the Rings buff, maybe going to Mount Victoria, which is one of the filming locations for the Lord of the Rings. If you see all the little hobbits hiding from the Nazgul just right above them, they're hiding just somewhere in Mount Victoria. And you can also go to the Putangira Pinnacles also, which is quite far outside of Wellington City, but it's kind of like one of those day trips that you can take out and then come back. Another day trip that you can get out and then come back to Wellington nearby the Putangira Pinnacles is the Cape Palliser Lighthouse, which is a fantastic lighthouse. You will be able to drive along, and you'll be able to see amazing seal colonies, great cliff faces, beach, all that, and you can climb an ungodly amount of steps to go all the way to that lighthouse, take some really cool pictures there. So yeah, that's basically the list that I have for you. And Laura is, by the magic of editing, already back. Look at that.
Yeah.
So yeah, here we go.
Sherry approves of your suggestion for wetter workshop.
Indeed, yeah, that is pretty cool. And also, it's a good thing to do with the weather is not playing ball. Wellington is really windy. Actually,
Yeah.
we were with a friend yesterday that lives in Wellington, and the first thing she was saying is like, "Yeah, it's so windy.
It's so windy, but actually she was saying that the weather has been better in Wellington than it has been for the rest
because
of
the wind
the
washes it off.
country. Yeah.
It washes all the clouds off. Where we are, we just keep the clouds
That's
forever.
a good thing about Wellington, because it is so windy. The weather does seem to come and go. So you're never in the rain for too long, or in the sun for too long, for that matter. But yeah, Wellington's a great place to visit. But Robin, have we heard from Armand this week?
Armand? Oh no, we haven't heard from Armand. Oh my god, I forgot about Armand. That's why I needed to show you guys. Guys, we've got Armand. So Armand is the French backpacker experiencing an awesome gap year in New Zealand, and he's vlogging for us every single week, telling us what's has been happening in his
gap year in his
in
life.
his gap year in the last week. So
Yeah.
do you guys want to see that? Yes, you do. Here you go. We see you around. Oh, we see you just right after, so we know around.
Kia ora guys, this is Arman giving you guys an update on the 13th week of my working holiday in New Zealand. So I'm in Auckland right now, in Myers Park towards the south of the CBD, and it's New Year's Eve. So I would like to wish all of you guys a happy new year full of happiness, health and success. I'd also like to take the opportunity to thank Rob and Laura for having come up with this brilliant idea of me doing these weekly update videos, because it's not just extra content for their channel, it's also very good for me on a personal level. I feel like I've improved significantly my speaking skills, and not only English, actually also Spanish and French, since I'm speaking many different languages at the hostels I'm staying at. I must say that when I got my flight to New Zealand, I was picturing myself sitting alone on Christmas, but I couldn't be more wrong. It actually, this lady friend of my former Wellington Airbnb host invited me to her house, and we had a very good time. She cooked for us, it was really pleasant, and I'm very grateful for having met locals and having made local friends now. So on Wednesday I had a job interview because it wasn't so much of an interview, it was actually more about them showing me what my job will be all about, and giving me a environment and the tasks I will be handling. So I will be uploading the software to the machines based at an office in Penrose. I'm really happy about that. I will be starting 9th, and next week I will be going to the recruitment agency's office to do a drug and alcohol test, which is quite common, it seems, for qualified jobs in New Zealand. They also did a criminal conviction check on me, which I wasn't expecting at all, because they hadn't given me the heads up, and I just got an email saying the subject was conviction check, and I was like, what's going on? I haven't done anything. Yeah, obviously it was negative, and yeah, I'm really looking forward to the job. Then on Thursday I went to the gym for the first time, because I just got the gym membership at City Fitness, and oh my god, my whole body hurts right now because I hadn't exercised for a couple of months, basically since I came to New Zealand, and it's good to have the routine back, hitting the gym, and the coach is really friendly and also funny. I'm really looking forward to getting some of my muscle mass back. Yeah, it's New Year's Eve, and tonight I have the Britomart block party planned. I cannot wait to be there and watch the fireworks of the Sky Tower. So that wraps it up for this week, folks. Again, I wish you a happy new year. And just remember that for every reason to be sad, there is always a bigger reason to be happy. And you just gotta have to focus on the light at the end of the tunnel. Cheers, guys.
I do love this music. Yeah, I'm so happy like Armand decided, like took on the idea. It was kind of funny. Armand joined us on Patreon. I'm just following up on the fact that he was thanking us for the idea, right? Yeah, Armand joined us on Patreon, and like I think on the week he arrived in New Zealand, you know, he was like telling me what he was doing and everything, and I was like, that's awesome. I was like, you should vlog about it. I just had the idea right on the spot, and so we all kind of like sorted everything out really quickly, and yeah, no, I'm really happy. Like he took on the idea. That was really cool, and we're so glad to have you in there. And genuinely, not just for the content, right? Because you see, like our channel, like right now we have what, 14 viewers. You know, it's a very, very small channel. It doesn't really matter too much, like if it gets a lot of views and everything. But we just love following the stories and kind of creating full stories as well.
Every time we do the live session, I always ask Robin, like, oh, can I see Armand's video, like, before we do the live session? Like, it's something I look forward to every week as well.
And Fabio says he was starting typing that his English improved over time when he was saying it in the videos.
Yeah.
That's really cool, Armand. You're doing awesome. So yeah, we're stoked to have you on board, Armand. That's really cool. All right, a quick last segment, and it's a timely one. All right, everybody. So I want to hear from you guys. What do you think about this new format for the NZ Travel Show? You've got about 4 minutes to vote in the poll right here in the live chat. Please vote and tell us if you do like this new format or not. We want to hear from you guys. We want to know if you know, that's going to work for you. We're hoping to keep this new format for at least the whole of 2023, just having a little bit more structure onto it, you know, have like something to kind of frame the conversation around. So yeah, I want to hear from you. Lawrence says, I like the silly question of the day jingle. I'm sorry, Laura hated it with a passion.
Well,
I have to say.
It's more because you made up your own jingle. I had nothing wrong with the actual, like, you know, audio of the video, which, to be fair, like, actually from our perspective right now, I don't know what the new music is like.
It's a bit rock-like. Oh yeah, you haven't heard it.
I haven't heard the new music.
It's rock.
So, yeah.
Fabio said yesterday so yesterday I did a casual chat live session where I was just setting up this whole live session, but I needed like people to comment on the side and all that to be able to see it live, so I did it live. We ended up doing an hour talking about Fabio's itinerary, but yeah, Fabio said he liked the rocky kind of like.
Yeah. And Anthony is making a very responsible decision and saying, I haven't seen the beginning yet, so I don't know, so I'm not going to vote, and I'll let you know next week.
Yes, so
very responsible.
Yeah.
Anthony.
Also, if you're watching a replay of this video, and I'm really serious right here, really helps because usually there's more people watching the replay than being live. I'd love for you guys to actually comment and tell us what you think about the new format. I know there was a couple of hiccups, like at the beginning the audio wasn't there and all that, so obviously we will kind of like try to get things to go a little bit more seamlessly, but yeah, just the whole idea and concept, at least, you know, not necessarily the execution, but the concept. Do you like the concept? I'd love to actually know from you guys. Yeah, and I hope that we covered also a lot of information about traveling in New Zealand in January. Next week the theme is going to be Milford Sound, so we're going to be talking about this iconic place to visit in New Zealand. We're going to give our tips, best things to check out on the way down, you know, some of the best cruises, best other things than cruises to do in Milford Sound, just those kind of things. We're going to kind of frame the conversation around Milford Sound, you know, proper. But yeah, I'd love to get more feedback from you guys. That'd be awesome. Sherry says it's really professional looking, like a travel and
like a travel TV show.
As professional as me reading a simple comments, as you can see. I'm definitely very good at
Fabio says Milford Track. Fabio, do you like hiking?
I don't think Fabio likes hiking.
No.
Actually, funnily enough, we're actually not necessarily going to cover too much about the Milford Track itself. Well, obviously, we'll mention it, but we want to talk about Milford Sound as a whole and the thing that people can go and do like for the day, more as a visitor. Like Milford Track is more of a really long expense. So interestingly enough, we're not going to cover the Milford Track that much. Christina says, I love the idea of themes for each week. Nice, thank you. Cool. And Ramesh says, you are the best mates.
Yeah.
We are. Thank you very much, Ramesh. Thank you for like sticking with us for the whole show as well, Ramesh. That's really awesome. New Safa says, awesome.
Awesome.
You guys are all phenomenal. Okay, we got 10 votes right here. Okay, another 1 minute for you guys to vote. 1 minute, and then I'm gonna have to stop the poll.
And if you've got any last-minute quick-fire questions
Yeah.
you just want to
Boom.
get in there, then make sure you type hurriedly right now. Remember, there's a bit of a delay with the live chat, so get them down now, and we can hopefully answer them for you before we wrap this live show up for the day.
And as soon as we wrap up this live show, we actually have another hour with our lovely Patreons where we're going to be looking at Christina's photo, which is going to be really awesome. So now is the time to join us on Patreon if you want to see all of Christina's amazing shots.
And get travel tips as well from people that have just traveled around New Zealand as well. It's always really good to see other people's perspectives as well, which is great for what our Patreon community is all about, to see what different people are doing, how different people travel around New Zealand, and it's always great to see. Everybody has a blast, which is the main thing.
All right, nice one. So I'm going to see everybody, Fabio, Anthony, Sherry, Christina, and all the other patrons. I see you in about 5 minutes, and I'm going to end the poll right now. Ta-da! So 100% of you guys have voted. 11 people have voted, so that is definitely the vast majority of our readers and our viewers. Sorry, not our readers, but yeah. All of you guys say you like the new format, so that's awesome. We're keeping it for the whole of 2023.
Yeah.
Here you go. All right. Laura, last word of I should have that as a segment. Laura, last word of the day.
Penguin.